he's hit this one, Miles. Great shot. Oh, it's a biggie. Straight over the top. The little man has hit the big fella for six. He's off his size. And he's smashed him down the ground. What a player. What a wonderful player.
The cricket nuts.
You are listening to The Cricket Nuts, a podcast where we sit down and talk about a host of issues around cricket, the sport we all live and love. You should expect our views to be passionate, honest, emotional, and adequately analytical. On this show, you will hear Jay, Uday, and myself, Bishen, a motley crew from the fields of law, hospitality, and marketing, thrash it out on our common passion.
Hello everyone, thank you for logging in. Welcome to a new episode of the Cricket Nuts. You have your usual suspects on, JD, Uday and myself. And today we'll be talking about rule changes in cricket. We'll first look at the rule changes brought about in this year's IPL. Some of the key ones being the impact sub, being able to submit team sheets after the toss, and being able to call wides and no balls as part of the DRS system as well. And once we look at those IPL related rule changes, did I say team changes before? IPL related rule changes, we will also look at rule changes in cricket generally and things we'd like to see change, what we like and don't like, etc. Okay, so let's get started. JD, do you want to tell us what you think about the impact sub rule now? At the time of recording, for everyone listening, we are at about 25 games in the season, 22, I think, 25 games in this season. And we've seen the impact sub rule in action a little bit at this point of time. What do you think? Is it working well? Do you like it?
Honestly, I'm not really liking it. I'm not a big fan. I mean, at least when the initial idea was sort of announced, I was not too sure. I was neither here nor there, but having seen a few games, I'm really not a big fan of it. Primarily because I think it sort of undermines the skill of an all-rounder, right? Because in fact, I think in one of the games that RCB, I think they played against Delhi, Faf was asked, do you like it? Obviously, the captain, he said he likes it because, he doesn't have to worry about an all-rounder, right? So because the team sheets are also exchanged after the toss, depending upon whether you're bowling or batting. But I feel that from a player's point of view, you're actually undermining a particular skill, which is very rare, right? So that is one. And the other thing which really disturbed me a lot was a talent like Prithvi Shaw. I mean, people who know me well knows that I like Prithvi Shaw, a lot, his gameplay a lot. But to see him just come out there, bat and then, substitute immediately, not taking part any in the game, not in the field, is really painful because that is also a very, very poor signal to, people who, I know that he's not, that fit, but it also sort of says that, what all you have to do is just come play a few balls, and obviously he's not playing well, unfortunately. So he's coming there, he's playing hardly 5-10 balls, and just then he's cooling off, he's done for the entire game, right? I sort of feel that it affects the entire mentality or the psychology of the players. They're not really in the game. I don't think so the impact sub have actually made much of an impact, barring a couple of instances that we have seen thus far. Because I also sort of feel that the players are not in the game. They're not involved because they're not in the field throughout. They're not switched on. It's more like, for that moment, they come in and they're off. So I don't know. I don't, really like it actually.
But don't you think, JD, that, I just want to ask JD. I mean, JD makes some nice points. In fact, my take is that I quite like it actually. I think it's a completely diametrically opposite view. I think it adds to the game. It involves more players in the game, more strategizing by the coach and the captain. I think it just adds a different dimension. And it's only one player, right? So it's not like, a really good all-rounder. Like, for example, on the day of recording today, Cameron Green, for example, still makes it to the team. I mean, just because it's an impact player thing, a guy like him doesn't. It's not like he's sitting out, right? So I still think a guy who's really good will make the team no matter what. And just the example you took of Prithvi Shaw, it's if he's somebody who's introspecting or looking at his career, it's something that he should not be proud about, right? That a team doesn't want him there for his fielding. That means his fielding has disintegrated so badly, and we know that he hasn't been a great fielder, and he's still not being considered. That means he really needs to work on his approach to the game. And if that is going to be the way teams are going to look at him, it definitely is going to affect his career internationally too. That he's not seen as being a value add on the field. So it
in
also
terms
is a
of
wake up call for.
strategy, yeah, okay, so in terms of strategy, I'm not really sure if there is any strategy at all, right? You look CSK, you know for a fact that if they bat first, Ambati Rayudu is going to be there. And if they're going to, bowl next, then Tushar Pandey is going to. Same thing with Delhi, right? There's nothing really that is actually come like a surprise. Wow, we did not expect that, right? In any of the games that we have seen thus far, in terms of the strategy that you're talking about. Now, if you look at someone like Prithvi Shaw, you say that, he should be not happy about himself. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much he's being paid, 8, 10 Cs or whatever. So, see, my problem is how
that's a
it depends
short
on the
term.
player
If
themselves.
he's happy playing IPL for the rest, sorry, Didi, sorry.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, if he's happy playing IPL for the rest of his life, okay. But if he has international aspirations, then it's definitely not a good sign. I mean,
but my problem is that not everybody is going to have that aspiration, right? I think it's very, very evident, right? And it's obviously not everybody can make the cut to an international team also, right? So I think that is a bit of a problem. And especially for someone like Prithvi Shaw, I would love to see him in the Indian team, just like, a permanent member, which I don't think it's going to happen for various reasons. But yeah, those sort of things, really disappoint me.
Okay, so let me, my take on this, JD. So Prithvi Shaw, if he was the second worst fielder in the Delhi team, he wouldn't become the player who's dropped to bring in the impact sub, right? He's essentially being the person replaced because he is the very worst.
Right.
And if you are the very worst, you should take that as a slap on your face and get better. So I think ultimately the impact sub rule improves the quality of the game. And sure, some all-rounders are missing out. There's no doubt about it. And it's not easy to be an all-rounder. But again, if you are an all-rounder who can make it to the team for one of the two skills, you will still find a place in the team. It's not like Akshar Patel, Ravindra Jadeja not playing this game, right? All of them are contributing in full measure. Who's missing out? Rishi Dhawan is missing out. That kind of guy is missing out, right? Rishi Dhawan is not a top 7 batsman for any team. He cannot guarantee he will bowl 2 good overs for any team. But if you cannot guarantee top 7 or bowl 2 overs, then you can't demand to be in a team anyway, right?
See, the flip side of it, Bishen, though, is imagine 10 years ago if this was there, would you have unearthed an Harshal Patel or a Ravindra Jadeja? I'm not sure. Right? See, that is how I'm thinking about it. See, these are prominent names that you're talking about. I'm talking about newer talent, potential talent, right? That are we unearthing? I'm not sure if this rule will actually help. Right? So that's how I looked at it.
IPL is considered the highest level of the game, essentially one below the highest level of the game, right? It's not really the place to groom talent. It's at some level it is to groom talent for the next level, but there is only one level above the IPL, right? So the grooming talent is happening at levels below the IPL. And over there, sure, Syed Mushtaq Ali tournament this year had impact sub in a very different form, mind you. But it was there, but most lower level tournaments don't have it. So Akshar Patel and Ravindra Jadeja are not born in the IPL.
Right.
They grow in stature in the IPL, sure. But they get picked to the IPL based on their performances. I think the opportunity is still there. But I just want to add, you mentioned, JD, the strategy point. I fully agree with you that there does not seem to be any real strategy involved in selecting the impact sub. And the reason for this is another rule bringing us to the other rule in the rule change in the IPL, which is when team sheets are delivered. Right? If you had to announce the team before the toss, then you would have seen impact subs being used in creative ways.
Correct.
Now you anyway give the team sheet only after toss.
Correct.
So if you are batting first, you will put 7 batsmen.
Correct.
Which means obviously your impact sub is going to be a bowler who is coming in the next innings. So there unfortunately is no scope for creativity. Except in some rare situations.
There was one exception.
There was one Punjab game where Sikandar Raza came into bat when they were 63 for 4. Of course, there will be exceptions. But they were able to, mind you, even in that game, they were able to do it because they had enough bowling. Sikandar Raza didn't have to bowl in that game. And if Sikandar Raza had not been brought in as the impact sub while batting first and being 60 for 4, Rabada would have come in because he was also on the impact sub list on that day. Surely he would have come in.
Right.
But fact is, they had 6 bowlers that day without Sikandar Raza bowling. So they could afford to do it on that day. Right? So that's an exception. Forget that. We can't talk about the rule with respect to exceptions. But for the rule to make sense, you can't have this team sheet being submitted after the toss.
Yeah.
Because that messes it up.
Yeah. And what do you think? I mean, see, even the Sikandar Raza aspect, right, that he spoke about, and even in this Prithvi Shaw case where against Bangalore yesterday, he got out for a duck. I sort of feel that even Sikandar Raza in the surprise one, he actually did not play well in that game. If I remember. Yeah. So, do you really see them making an impact? Because they are switched off majority of the game, and then they are all of a sudden said, you know what, you'll have to go now, maybe in the 8th over, 10th over, start playing. What do you think about it? Because somewhere I feel that, they're not switched on. They're not in the game mode at all. And then,
this is something I was going to say. I guess that's because... So sorry, there's just one small thing.
Go on.
Because it's related to this. A small change I was going to say in the next part is to have batting cages at the ground to keep players switched on, like you have in baseball. Batting cages right next to the ground. Before you go in, you're warmed up, you're hitting, you're ready. Right? In this case, Sikandar Raza must have been thinking in this game, surely the impact sub is Rabada, not me.
Right.
And he must have been chilling. And then suddenly they were 60 for 4. And then, oh no, you have to play this game. Right? But at least if there were like batting cages nearby, he could have warmed up and got into the zone a little bit.
Right.
So that's just, since you brought it up, a related change. I thought, sorry, Uday.
No, I was going to say, I mean, I like the specific example you gave, Bishen, because I was going to say it forces teams to find ways of keeping the impact sub, switched on. How to do that? I think the example you gave is excellent. If you can have a space allocated where these people can bowl or bat and keep themselves refreshed, then that's a great way of keeping them switched on. The other thing is, if you observe, I mean, the one example that comes to my mind is Dhruv Jarrell, right? I don't know if you saw that game. You guys saw that game where he came in as an impact sub and completely changed. He couldn't win the game. I think they just fell short by a couple of runs.
Yeah.
But if not for this, I'm wondering if he would have even had a chance to ever make himself known. The guy just came in and no one could even pronounce his name. The guy comes in and smashes it around and with good technique. It wasn't just swinging it here and there. He actually had technique. True. Yeah. So someone like that has suddenly come into the reckoning, I think, because of an impact rule. Right? I mean,
so the purpose of the impact sub rule was certainly to give one-dimensional local players an opportunity. That was the reason why the rule was brought into place. And apart from the rare exception where it is implemented in the way that you are saying, it will not be. Because you give the team sheet before the toss, you pick your 7 batsmen and then you replace your worst fielder among them and bring a bowler in the next innings. And that may or may not be a local Indian person. It could be, if you have noticed, in so many teams are starting with only 3 foreign players, which means with the intent of the impact sub also being a foreign player, right?
Yeah.
I saw a nice stat in there have been about 50 odd instances of a team starting with 3 foreign players since 2008, and of those 35 have been in the last few years, right? So this is a trend that is happening now, and by the impact sub rule, even more you will see it happening. I don't think it's serving the purpose.
Which is okay, no, Bishen. Which is all right.
Which is fine. Yeah. But with the impact sub rule, the impact sub will often be a foreigner. Is my point. Like Sikandar Raza or Rabada, whatever. You may not really see that many instances of it being a local Indian player. Because the benches in the IPL also are so large, right?
I sort of like that aspect in the rule where if you already have 4 in the 11 that you initially announced, foreign players, you can't have foreigner as an impact sub. I like that, So IPL is staying true to the fact that, it is more, it's an Indian or an opportunity to, the Indian players more than, So I really like that part of the rule, although, the strategy or the other aspects.
Like I didn't think about the aspect, but I think the point that Bishen made, and you agreed with JD about the team sheets, is quite interesting. I hadn't really thought about that. I guess the team sheets being prepared in advance kind of removes that potential or scope for strategizing, whatever.
It's become a substitute player rule, not an impact player. You know exactly how it's going to work. And if you remember in 2005, there was the
Yeah.
Super Sub rule.
Yes.
The Super Sub rule was introduced then by a Sunil Gavaskar-led ICC committee, right?
Yeah.
And they stated the purpose of the rule to be to encourage all-rounders. Because then you
Right.
had to announce a Super Sub before the toss, the playing 11 before the toss. And so you could
Right.
have a guy who could come in any time and make an impact. But
Yeah.
teams were not doing that. Teams
Mhm.
were appointing a specialist player as Super Sub, and then basically the team that wins the toss has an advantage because their Super
Yeah.
Sub will
Yeah.
be able to maximize the conditions more. And
Mm.
then the Super Sub rule got phased out for the reason that it was not encouraging all-rounders, but encouraging specialist players and allowing teams to take unnatural advantage of the toss. That's how it got phased out, which
Right.
in some way will happen with this impact player rule as well, to a lesser extent, but that could be the effect here as well.
Yeah.
You're saying it'll
And then
happen if the team sheets are not submitted in advance, right?
Yeah, if the team sheets are not submitted in advance, the impact player rule can actually have tactical value.
Creative
Tactical value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, the other thing is that, I mean, of course, we've said this is that it gives more players a chance to be involved in the game, right? You're basically having a 12 versus 12 match.
That I'm okay with. It improves the overall quality
Which
of
I
the
like.
game. So I'm
Yeah.
okay with that as
I like
long as there's a tactical value to it and it's not just a 12 versus 12.
Yeah, yeah. I guess it's still in its nascent stages. You might find
For
somebody
sure.
using
Next
it
year
for
you'll
better.
see the rule being changed. I have no doubt you will see the rule being changed. Yeah. Now I was saying we discussed the team sheets bit and the impact player. Let's just touch upon the third major change, let's call it this IPL season, which is being able to use your DRS to challenge wides and no balls.
Yeah.
My view on that is
I like it.
My view, go on, JD.
I like it. I because we've definitely seen some really close calls which probably the umpires have messed it up and teams have lost by a small margin. So
I think I saw a game a couple of days back where in the last over, I think some runs were needed and the umpire called wrongly when it hit the batsman's pad.
Yeah.
And then the batsman reviewed it and got. I mean, it hadn't hit the batsman's pad actually, and the umpire.
Yeah.
The batsman had it reviewed. So I think it's a good thing. The only suggestion I'd have in that rule, I'm not sure if you guys will agree with this, is that I still think that the wide review should be outside the two reviews. That's my view. I don't think.
Oh no, definitely
not.
No.
Then you'll have a very, very long game.
Yeah, the game was already very, very
I'm just
long.
saying limited. No? Make it 2 reviews for long decisions and 1 review for wide call.
But what's the logic for that?
How is it related? I mean, how is it related? The 2 reviews are for incorrect out decisions, right?
No, that's what you think.
It is a
the 2
decision
reviews are
review
for
system,
challenging
right?
umpires' decisions.
Yeah, it is a
that's
decision
for
review
out,
system.
For out.
No, not necessary.
Exactly.
It doesn't call itself as a decision review system for out or not out, right? It is a challenging.
No, but what else? But hitherto, what were you challenging it for? You were only challenging for out decisions.
No, but so what? I mean, why should there be a different category for this?
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you see last year's IPL, I think there was only 1 review per innings.
Yeah.
This year already 2 reviews per innings. Now you effectively want 3 per innings. This game, our game of cricket is the shortest form of it is already 4 hours long. We are finding it difficult to attract people to watch the game. There is certainly no way that we can extend the length of time further, in my opinion. And in fact, even today, I'm not a big fan of the wides and no balls being reviewed, honestly. It's sure the game often turns on 1 run, but of the things reviewed, it has the least impact on the game because it is only 1 run. Usually, right? So, and the amount of time that is being spent on wides and no balls is quite significant. And I don't think the review is being done in a scientific way. They are seeing a review after replay after replay after replay. Because wides outside off stump, did the batsman move far enough for the wide line to move the way the umpire decided? You cannot really take a call on that. Some wide calls are easy, where you've called wide when the ball hit the batsman. Sure, those are easy to call. But the wide challenges are happening because it was not wide enough, but umpire called wide. Those are also being challenged, and third umpire is spending 2-3 minutes reviewing that
That's
as
okay,
well.
right? But that is okay because see,
Okay, even I feel
ultimately
that's
the
okay.
umpire has more time to see because it's
Take a look.
different in
No,
making
but
a
he's
decision
not
in a
changing
split
it.
second.
But third umpire, no, JD, just to finish this, third umpire is only allowed to change it if there is a clear and conclusive,
Okay.
wrong decision. But for the very nature of the review is that there will usually be no clear and conclusive decision,
True.
but they are still spending 3-4 minutes on it, wasting time, and ultimately saying no change in decision, even if
Stick
it
with
looks
the
to
on-field
our
decision.
eyes. Yeah. So I'm not a big fan of it.
See,
If you have an objective criteria, use it.
More than the wides, the no balls have helped. See, that is what I've sort of noticed in the rule recently, where people are challenging the waist high full toss or close to
Waist high
that,
full toss,
and you have that sort of graph that comes in and helps the So I think that is sort of helped, right? So
for me, that's not scientific enough either, JD. Honestly,
okay.
Because they are drawing the no ball line, and if the ball is hitting the stump, they're saying ball hitting stump is not a no ball, but that's not the no ball rule. You know how third umpire is calling it. It's not, is the ball hitting stump? Is the batsman in his normal position? Is it below waist height? Judging what is waist height, also very difficult. Guy wears his pants very high that day. It will seem like it's higher. Honestly, because there is no line marker, right? Because genuinely there isn't.
But I thought there's a graphic, right, which shows the dip of the ball. There's a graphic, right, where they show how the ball
there is,
is.
and then they show that ball hits the stump, and then say ball hitting stump, it's not a no ball. That's what I'm saying.
The trend is, it's not about where you connect. The trend is whether the ball is, going down further.
On a downward trend.
Correct.
On a downward
Correct. So it's not scientific enough for me. They are just doing some of this stuff is just for TV and fans. It's not being done scientifically. If you are wasting audience time for 3-4 minutes, do it if you have scientific objective criteria. Otherwise, don't waste our time. Move on with the game and speed it up. I mean, that's my view.
You like the rule,
technology will.
I like the rule. I don't have a problem. I mean,
you're always pro rule.
More for the no ball, as you said. I mean, the wide also. I like that moment in the game the other day when the umpire was forced to overturn the rule when it had hit the batsman and he still called it a wide. That was.
Shall we move to
the other rule?
Sorry, go on, Uday.
Sorry. Have you guys seen the other rule in play? The one wherein if the wicketkeeper moves, there's a penalty and all that. I mean, have you seen that rule being in use anywhere? Because I haven't seen it in the games I've seen.
I've not seen.
I've seen it in international cricket. It's happened a couple of times when the player is moved, when the keeper is moved down the leg side too early to preempt a catch, and that's been given as 5 penalty runs. In the IPL, I have not seen.
I had a question on that rule.
Yeah.
I had a question on the rule, Bishen, because I'm not very clear about the rule. I'm sure you might know this. So, what is the rule exactly? So, when a bowler is coming into bowl, when he starts the run up, the fielder should not move. Is that the rule?
The fielder is not to move until the ball is released.
Oh, so he has to stay. He has to be stationary until the ball is released. So once the ball is released, he can move.
Yeah.
That is between the ball being released and it hitting. So the wicketkeeper can move at that stage, right? As the ball is released,
that is my understanding.
Right.
I don't think he needs to wait until the batsman plays it. He can move once the bowler releases it, is my understanding, but I'm not 100% sure as well.
Yeah, it's a rule which actually I wasn't very clear about. When are they going to penalize the batsman? I wasn't really clear.
Yeah, but that's not an IPL specific rule. It's a rule that's generally changed.
No, but they actually said this is they're introducing this in the IPL, right? Because if I look at the rule, that's what the rule said.
I think they have, but I'm saying it's not IPL specific. It's already there in international cricket. Like the other rules we're discussing today, the impact sub and the wide no ball and the team sheet is all IPL specific, and therefore, right, it's not there in international cricket. Let's now move on to the other rules changes that we would like to see in cricket. How do we think our game can improve based on some rule changes that we would like to see? What are we unhappy about today that we think can be changed? Who wants to go first? Uday, you want to go?
One thing that I certainly would like to see, which I'm not very sure whether it will happen, is the ground sizes to be uniform that the cricketers play in, right? Some of the ground sizes are very, very small. It's too batsman friendly, obviously. Miss it's going for 6 and all of that. I think an equal dimension or more or less, right? So a minimum of say 65 meters on all sides, as an example, I'm saying, will at least, give the bowlers, batsmen, it's a level playing field, irrespective of whether you play in Mumbai or, Christchurch. It does not matter, right? So that is one rule that I would, definitely like to see, change.
What you mean is not that it should be the same, but the minimum distance should
exactly.
be bigger.
Minimum,
Should be defined.
Yeah.
Even today, there is a minimum, but I think the minimum is not big. I think it's 50, if I'm not
50,
wrong, or something like
50,
that.
yeah. That is just, I mean, nowadays with the big
And
batch sizes, you just tap it, it goes for 6.
yeah,
I
so
guess
that
60,
50, you would
60,
like it to
65
be
should be more
65 or something.
Yeah.
The rule change in the IPL, which I'm sure you guys will not agree with, which I want to see is, I want to see five foreign players.
No.
Oh, no way.
Okay,
No
never.
Why do we want 5 foreign players?
I just feel
Explain. We'd love to hear your reasons for it.
Oh.
No, I just feel that some players, like yesterday's, okay, on the day this is being recorded, the day before this, yesterday I saw a game where Punjab was playing, Lucknow, okay, and the quality of, I don't want to sound
Peacock sitting out
disparaging
making you unhappy.
No, the quality of the Indian player who's playing, I'm just saying, there's a guy called Atharva Taide who opened. All right, I have nothing against him. Maybe he'll prove me wrong and do extremely well. But he just seemed like a fish out of water there. I'm just saying, like,
it's his first game. It's his first IPL game. What do you expect, Uday?
Agreed. But this is not.
How else will he get an opportunity? How else will he get an opportunity?
That's what.
In one point of view, you are saying that, what, I want as many players to be involved as possible. Then you're saying that, what, you want 5 foreigners. See, this is an Indian Premier League. All these
said
guys,
as many,
right? You name
as
it,
many
Bishen,
players
or whoever it is, they play in all the leagues around the world, right? But Indian players can play only the Indian Premier League, right? So if they, and you think of someone like Rinku, you think that he will ever get a chance to play in Big Bash or Caribbean or Sri Lanka, you name it? No, right? The only place that he can get a chance is here. Now you're saying that, what, I love, foreign people playing in, Indian Premier League, make it more. That's not,
Yeah, you yourself were so happy seeing Jurel batting. Jurel would have never batted if 5 foreigners were there in the team.
I'm definitely happy seeing a good Indian player make it. But
he won't emerge. You have to make him play to see, no?
Yeah, exactly. Don't go by first impression is the best impression in cricket, Uday.
If he's good enough, he will play, JD. If he's good enough, he will make it. I know this may not be an apple-to-apple comparison.
You look at Jeswant, Uday. You look at Jeswant, right? You remember the first season that Jeswant played? It was one of the terrible, matches.
I know.
He was clueless. He had no idea. He just didn't seem to belong there, right? But look at him now.
Correct. No, see, I'm saying a good player will make it, right? You still have 6 Indian players. It's not like I'm not saying all Indian players, man. I'm just saying add 1 foreign player.
Why not add 2 then? Quality will improve even more. Add 2 players.
One
You'll still have 5 Indian players playing. That's a lot, right? That's 50 Indian players will play across 10 teams. You can say it's a lot. Where do you stop?
I would.
Why is 5 that number?
I would say 5 just to make sure that the quality of the league improves. I just feel there are some Indian players there because they have to make up the.
No, but what's the science for 5? Why not 6?
Because it's 4. You increase it by 1. There is no end. See, if you want to truly internationally, you have to make sure the best players play. You can't just. I disagree with one of the points JD made. Maybe everything else JD said. Maybe you're right, JD. But the point where you said, what is it? You said that where will you groom the players? This is not the forum to groom players. You got to be more or less close to being good enough if you're going to play.
No, I'm not saying
I agree with
players,
that.
right? I'm saying where else will they get the opportunity?
To Ranji Trophy,
they don't get an opportunity to play.
Syed Mushtaq Ali Trophy. These are not. We can't.
They are coming through the ranks from that. Uday. See, Syed Mushtaq Ali Trophy. If you play in Mumbai or if you play in Kolkata or you play in Ahmedabad, there won't be 1,000 people in the ground, or 100 people will be there in the ground. Here you come, you play in Chinnaswamy Stadium as an example. There'll be 50,000 people screaming on top of their lungs, chanting for Kohli and RCB. And let's say that you are an outsider. You saying that you'll not get, nervous? Come on, Uday.
Yeah.
You will.
No,
I'm not denying that. I'm not denying
Exactly.
that at all.
So they have to
You will get
experience
nervous.
that to get it right. Jaiswal, like I said, is Tushar Deshpande. The first game he was completely out of sorts. But he
Yeah.
needs, what did Dhoni say, right? They need it. They need it because they have the talent. They see their talent in the nets. They know that they have the potential. But a talent in a net is different compared to performing in an actual scenario, match scenario, right? With all the pressure. So they need to get used to the stage.
and I don't think there is this issue of dilution of quality in the IPL, right? We are a country of the most cricketers that are playing in the world, and most leagues across the world have 8 teams that are playing. You're telling me that a country of 1.4 billion can't field 2 extra teams? There isn't enough talent in our country to field 2 extra teams, more than England and Australia and West Indies and whatever. I mean, I'm not able to accept that, and I haven't honestly felt that there is a lack of talent. Mumbai in this year's IPL is actually a lot short on players because of injuries, and therefore they are themselves being forced to field players who they would not normally have, who may not be ready for it. But that's not the yardstick to judge whether the quality is there or not. You may find a few players here and there who are not up to standard, but that's not an issue that I have noticed in the IPL in general. So I don't think we are at a point where we need to say the quality is bad. We need to uplift it. Okay, so let's look at some other rules that we think we want changed. JD shared one, Uday shared one, I'll share one, which is on how the DRS works in terms of it being called a dead ball. Imagine that we are in a World Cup final, last ball, 1 run to win. Kohli is batting and he's given out, right? But the ball has hit the bat and he's run a single. Ball has hit the bat and then hit the pad and he's run a single and he scored the 1 run that is required to win. But bowler's appeal, umpire gives it out, right? It is checked. DRS finds that ball hit bat. It is not out. It is given not out. But the rule as it stands today is that it's a dead ball once the umpire lifted his finger.
Yeah.
Which means even though ball hit bat and he scored the single and India actually won that match, the scorecard will show that India did not.
Right.
Because it was given out on the field.
Yeah.
They haven't changed that rule yet, is it? I thought they had amended the rule, no?
No, I don't think it's been changed. Has it been changed, JD? I don't think it's been changed.
So.
I thought I read somewhere that they might have amended, but maybe they've not. I'm not sure.
So
that's been a talking point for some time. That's why I thought I heard a commentator say they've addressed, but I don't know. I'm not 100% sure about it.
So that's if it happened, great. I don't think it's happened, but
that rule as it stands is terrible. That's a horrible rule.
Yeah, but the fix for it is not easy either. The fix for it is in that situation when the ball is bowled, the ball hits bat, and the bowlers appeal.
Because fielders are relaxed.
And the umpire is forced. If you want that ball to be played, umpire has to quietly stand till Kohli runs the single, the fielder picks the ball, tries a run out or whatever he wants to do. And after all the action is over, then he has to raise his finger 1 minute later for LBW.
Yeah.
Which doesn't seem intuitively correct, but that is the solution for it.
It's not bad, actually. I mean, sometimes
it's not bad.
But sometimes there have been games where they have done that, isn't it? They have waited for the entire play to get over. And then they have given the decision. I remember seeing a couple of games like that.
I thought they do that only for a referral. Yeah, I thought they do that only for a run-out referral.
Yeah, for a run-out as an example, right? So it's not that, the batsman, if it hits goes for overthrows as an example, the batsmen are allowed to keep running. He doesn't, signal, a third umpire immediately. So,
it's not a bad I see what Bishen is saying, JD, in terms of the intuitiveness of an LBW decision, right? The umpire sees it, engages it, and decides on it in that moment. Now, if he waits on it, his decision making can get a little confused to himself. So I think that's what you're trying to say, right, Bishen?
No, I'm not saying that he may change the decision, but from a viewer's perspective, player's perspective, you are waiting for the LBW decision, but it's not coming. Players saying run along, try or run out, do whatever else you want to do. And then after everything is over, I'll tell you about what happened 1 minute back.
Yeah. I mean, people hated Steve Buckner for his late decision making, which was like, a good 5-10 seconds. Imagine, a good 45 seconds and then somebody goes, nobody's going to like it. True. I mean, talking of this reball, one thing that I really hate nowadays is these spider cams or that, the sort of wires that go up for whatever reasons and the ball hits that. It's called a dead ball, whether it's going to go for a 6 or a fielder is going to take the catch. That is one of the worst things, that really, I mean, it just annoys me. It's just unfair.
Thankfully, it happens rarely.
Yeah, it happens rarely, but and the amount of time that is even wasted on it sometimes.
Yeah.
It happened in this
To
year's
figure
IPL.
if the ball actually hit it or not.
Yeah, exactly. It happened in this year's IPL. I think it was the first game.
Yeah, it did.
They were going on,
It did,
checking whether, I think it was Suman Gill or someone, did it actually hit, or not hit?
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous, actually. So, I
should
don't
play like when we were kids and playing gully cricket. Ball hits the tree, it's fine. You play on the tree. It's part of the ground, right? Similarly, spider cam, live with it.
Yeah.
I think there was one instance where the ball seemed to be going for 6, but it hit the spider cam and fell straight down.
Yeah.
There was one.
So I don't know.
The aim of giving better view to the people sitting and watching in TV, you can't disrupt the actual gameplay itself, right? That is really stupid, actually. They should come up with something better, smarter.
That's true. I agree.
Let's do one more rule change each. What would you like to see, Uday?
I actually quite like your suggestion. I think we've discussed this in an earlier Cricket Nuts episode where I'm increasingly thought about it after the episode, and I thought the rule of the batting team being penalized if the bowler, if the non-striker, takes an unfair step, I think would be an interesting. That's what you suggested, no? You suggested something along those lines, right? If I'm not wrong, I think that's a great innovation if they can do that, because I increasingly think this running out the bowler, something doesn't seem right about it.
Quick plug for all the viewers watching. Go back and watch a previous episode where we discussed this entire thing in great detail.
Yeah. Although I still think that's the best solution around right now. I would say the solution you came up with, where the batting team gets penalized either for a few runs or they get some kind of a penalty
for the non-striker taking a few steps out, which happens automatically.
Yeah.
JD? Any other rule change
I would like to change also is see, right now you have these I think there are about 4 fielders only allowed outside the 30-yard circle between, I think, 10 to 40 overs in the 50 overs match.
ODIs.
Yeah. So earlier it was, I think, you could have 5 fielders outside and 4 in.
In ODIs, in the last 10, you can have 5 now.
5
correct. So, I somehow feel that, that can be, tweaked, again, because see, my biggest problem is that it's too batsman friendly. And that's why I came up with the, ground size as an example too, right? So I think, I know that there's another argument that you can always play that, you sort of tempt the batsman to, play a little bit more aggressively because that is really a dull period during the ODIs. But I don't know. I mean, how much has it changed in the favor of bowler? Hardly, right? So I don't like that rule, to be really honest. I think that can be, reconsidered too.
So you're saying in the middle overs, where you currently are allowed only 4 fielders outside, you want to allow 5 fielders outside?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Go back to the old. I mean, because I sort of felt that earlier you had that 15 overs power play. Right?
Yeah, the 15 overs.
I liked it. Yeah, so you had that 15 overs power play. I sort of like that concept more than, because honestly, I mean, the number of changes has been so many in 50 overs just to make it interesting. And I can tell you that at least 50 overs does not appeal to me at all, especially these meaningless bilateral series. Maybe World Cup, games, it's good, it's interesting.
Did you have a question for you?
I think we should get away with, do away with this bilateral 50 overs. It's just completely meaningless.
I have a question for you, JD. I mean, I actually liked what you suggested here. And I also like the ground change. I mean, the keeping the standard dimensions a little more. What you suggested. What do you think about Sachin's suggestion, JD and Bishen, actually? About the two innings in a 50-over game?
Change it to 25.
I think it changes the format too much.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. He again suggested to make it more.
But instead of that, I'm not sure if you guys know or remember, I think it was quite a long time back. Sunil Gavaskar suggested, I know that test matches are giving a lot more results nowadays, so it might not make sense. But there was a time when Sunil Gavaskar suggested that you have 5 days, 450 overs, each team gets 225 overs, and they can play however they want. They can play the first innings only for 50 overs, right? So let's say that I win the toss, and put the opposition in, and it's an absolute horrible wicket to play because it's swinging, seaming, and all. I can decide only to play 25 overs, and then say declared, and then let the opposition play and get them to play 25 overs as an example, and then I have 200 overs in the bank to play, something like that.
But only 10 wickets for the 200 at the back as well.
Exactly, yeah. So I sort of like that concept a lot, actually.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
Do
that
you
could be
remember
fun.
it? Do you remember reading it?
No, I don't actually. That's the
Oh,
first
is it?
time I'm hearing of this proposal.
That
Yeah,
was
I've never seen that. Yeah.
It was a very nice suggestion that he gave. This was really, really long back when test matches were not yielding results. I'm talking at least
Results,
so back, yeah. But
But you wouldn't want you wouldn't want the Sachin suggestion, right? The 2 innings.
No.
ODI game.
I feel that the ODI, I mean, to be honest, like I said, I don't like 50-over games. I have not liked it since the time Sachin retired, obviously, because I stopped watching it. But then it has just become really, really. I actually remember watching an India-South Africa game live on the ground. Kohli scored a century, ABD scored a century, and I couldn't wait for the game to get over. I was so bored. I was so bored in the ground. I was like, that's it. I'm not going for a 50-over game ever in my life, unless and until it's an India-Pakistan World Cup quarterfinal or World Cup or whatever. I've just decided.
Yeah,
Even if somebody gives me box tickets, free tickets, I was like, thank you very much. I'm not going to do it.
I think cricket is probably the only sport which has 3 different formats which are being played at the international level already.
Side by side.
Right?
Yeah.
And Sachin's 25 plus 25 was essentially a 4th format. It's nothing like one-day cricket, right?
Correct.
So you cannot have 4 different formats that are going on. It just makes our sport is already, let's say, not conducive for a new viewer to pick up because of the complexities in the rules and all of that. Yeah. And creating a 4th format definitely is, I think, not a viable option at all.
But if you've noticed, Bishen, this is not to sound exclusive or anything, but if you notice, you speak to many youngsters these days. I mean, in my office, and if I speak to many youngsters nowadays, right, many nuances of the game are not even, people don't even bother following anymore.
Which I somewhat get. Which I somewhat get because there's so much more content to follow today. There's so much more access to other sports, right? In the 90s, let's say forget 90s, even 15 years back, if you wanted to watch Serie A, La Liga, NBA, it wasn't so easy. Now everything is easy to follow. You can pick whatever in the world you want to watch. Why should I follow, this complicated sport so closely? I can, if I don't relate to it or don't enjoy it. So yeah, I mean, I get it. It's fine.
Yeah, it's very understandable. I'm saying, there's so many. The number of formats, the differences in each format. It's not an easy spectator sport anymore.
Yeah. I mean, like Bishen was talking about that rule change that he wanted, right? Yeah. And you're saying that it probably changed, and we're like, did it really change? So it just shows how much they are trying to make the game appealing and yet failing, actually.
Mainly in the 50-over game, no? Because I think the 20-over game,
50 overs is just trash, actually.
It was. I don't know. It goes back to what I was asking Bishen some time ago, whether we should really have that format anymore. But
in fact, I think down the line, I won't be surprised in 10 years down the line, cricket will be like football. You just have leagues all around the world, because I think yesterday or day before yesterday, there was this Middle East, guys coming up with the biggest, richest league or whatever in T20.
Saudi.
I mean, obviously, BCCI immediately. BCCI immediately.
They're coming up with something?
BCCI said players won't be allowed to participate. But
mind you, Saudi League is the only league which is being done with BCCI support, and there was talk that Indian players will be allowed to play in the Saudi League. Though the BCCI clarified yesterday that they won't be, and this should not come up for discussion or something like that, but it wasn't very clear. But because it is with BCCI support, since Saudi's tourism is sponsoring this year's IPL as well, there is
Yeah.
talks between Saudi and the BCCI. So don't be too surprised if you see some Indian involvement in that league. Even if it's not current players, they give some NOCs to some for Indian players to play uncapped Indians or something like that. Don't be too shocked. It's possible.
But what is making it this? What is making this the talk of the town now? I mean, it's just another
It's
league,
at a
right?
very
Like
nascent
ILT20.
stage right now.
It's just another league.
It's at a very nascent stage right now. It'll just be like any other league, but supposed to be the richest, biggest, whatever.
Yeah.
And with
Wow.
BCCI support, it can be. I mean, they'll never make it bigger than the IPL, but
Yeah. But it is as
But
Bishen
because I think Saudi has
I get what
supported
JD
them
is saying.
during COVID times and all of that, you never
Yeah,
know. Maybe players past their prime can potentially.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting scenario you envision, no, JD, Bishen, don't you think? I mean, with so many leagues coming up, where is the chance for the players to play ODIs, for example? No, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, there's
it's
no
really
doubt that
competition.
ODI cricket will die a slow death, right? The
Maybe-
only reason,
Maybe they just have it as for the World Cups, right? Just the
yeah, the
World Cup.
only reason it's not died right now is because the World Cup and the Champions Trophy bring too much money to the boards and to the ICC, so they can't scrap it entirely, and therefore it's being kept alive. But at some point of time, they will have to kill it. Maybe they're waiting for the T20 World Cups to reach the stature where it brings in the money that the other World Cup was bringing, and when that transition happens, you will see the ODI cricket being, phased out. So yeah, it's a matter of time, but it will happen.
I mean, even the players keep saying that, right?
Yeah.
They don't seem to be
Yeah.
interested in playing ODIs anymore.
I was just saying that before we wrap up, I'd like to just add a couple of rule changes that I want to see as well. One, probably unpopular, is on if the ball crosses the boundary line, it is 6. You can't pull it back in with however acrobatic a catch you may do. I mean, while it's fantastic to see, I think if the batsman has done enough to put the ball across the line, which is
Fielder has also done enough to get it.
No, but you should. There's no point doing it after it has crossed. Aim of the batsman is to make it cross the line. It's like in football. In football, there is goal line technology, right? If the ball crosses the line of the goal, you don't say it must also hit the back of the net. Why are we saying in cricket it must land in the ground outside the ropes, right?
Correct.
However acrobatic goal defender may do a scorpion kick and kick the ball out from the goal. If it crosses the line, it's a goal, right? Because the striker, the other team has put the ball across the line. I mean, by that logic, using the same logic, the batsman has done enough. It should be a 6 or a 4.
If you have the ground size the same, then I rest my case, So I think that's important, right? Because again, you're
Minimum
taking the
size.
bowler and the fielders out of. I would like a more equal competition. So
Yeah, maybe increase the minimum ground size.
Exactly.
I agree with that as well.
Yeah. What is the other rule, Bishen? You have one more?
Yeah, one more is. I mean, it's not like new or anything, but I want to see it happen because it hasn't happened. Which is allowing bowlers to bowl more than their quota of overs. A batsman can play 50 overs in a one-day match. A batsman can play 20 overs in a T20 game, but a bowler can only bowl 4 overs or 10 overs. So, while the quality of batting can be good for 50 overs,
batsman can play, right? But he's having, I don't know, 300 balls at him, but it takes only one delivery to get him out. But the bowler already has, in a one day, for example, he's got 60 balls as an example to deliver. He can get a wicket. So it's not guaranteed there's no guarantee that the batsman is, going to play the entire 50, right? The bowlers.
It's not about guarantee, JD. I mean,
exactly.
It is the batsman has the opportunity. Forget guarantee. Batsman has the opportunity. Bowler does not have the opportunity to impact the game as much as a batsman does.
You have 60 deliveries to make an impact.
No, not that.
It's quite a lot, actually.
You wanted bowlers to have a better say in the game, right?
I know.
Allowing,
but I think 60 deliveries is bowling. If they are not good,
you're allowing your best bowler to get a few extra overs. You'll improve the quality of the bowling.
Okay, so
make it harder for the batsman.
So just like Uday's 5 foreign theory. So how much is enough? 11, 12, 13? They should be.
Yeah.
See, then that.
We have to find a number. Even the number 10 is arbitrary, right? You arrived at 4 overs in 20 or 10 out of 50 is also arbitrary.
Assuming that 5 people can bowl out of 11.
Yeah, correct. You have to come up with another number that will still make sense and allow not completely eliminate the 5th bowler. so that teams can't go into bowl with only 4 bowlers. So maybe it cannot be 20 like in a 50-over game. My proposal is a bowler cannot bowl 20 because you need to make sure teams still pick enough bowlers and not pack the side with batsmen.
Exactly.
So something between 10 and 20,
some cap,
maybe 15 overs
a
or
cap,
something. Yeah.
Some minimum cap, which is over 10. You want something which is over 10.
Over 10 and below 20. That's a number they have to figure out.
That's a lot.
That's the other proposal for me. Yeah.
I'll be bored watching one guy bowling 18 overs. I mean, it just
JD is already bored with one-day cricket.
Yeah, I know.
This will just make you switch off the TV in disgust.
I mean, as such, I don't watch any game. The only time I actually watch a game is either an IPL or a World Cup. I don't watch
World
any
Cup,
other
I
game.
know. Yeah, I know. Just a parting note from me. This use of the impact player rule today. Rohit Sharma doesn't play citing a stomach bug, and he's opening the batting now for Mumbai. Impact.
Yeah, because when you're fielding and you have a stomach bug, you can imagine there could be issues.
Look at that, man.
Right?
You don't have issues while batting, is it?
But look at that. I don't know. Is this a case of misuse of the rule? Is this a case of misusing the rule? I don't know, really.
Not necessarily. Uday. He might have landed up in the ground with a stomach bug. Maybe he has taken some.
Maybe. But I'm saying they probably had this in mind. They probably didn't want to exert him, so they named him.
Yeah, exactly. In the heat, it's obviously an afternoon game.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea.
Because when you have a stomach bug, you're losing fluids as well.
Yeah.
And if you're running around on the field, you won't be able to replace it. He would not.
And Rohit Sharma is just because he's Rohit Sharma, he's actually playing, right? If not, he's so misfit in terms of his,
physique.
It's just
That's true. But an interesting use of the rule. Whether it's right or wrong, we can debate. But it's a good use. I mean, it's an interesting use of the rule.
Yeah, I don't know.
On that note, guys, let's bring this show to an end, I think.
Yeah.
Good fun. I like talking to both of you. Thanks, guys.
Yes, thanks, guys. And thank you, everyone, for watching. I mean, if you've enjoyed watching this episode, do share, do subscribe, do like, share your comments with us. That help us grow the channel as well. Look forward to seeing you all on the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, guys. Bye.